Coming up, I'm going to be talking about how Disney's brand new streaming service has been blocked from launching, plus also be talking about a National Geographic series being cancelled and much more. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. Hi, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for a quick Disney Plus news roundup. So let's start off with talking about Venu Sports. This is a brand new sports streaming service which was set to launch later this month. It was going to cost about $43 a month and was going to combine all of Disney's ESPN content along with Warner Brothers Discovery sport content and Fox's sport content. So there's going to be lots of linear channels plus all of the ESPN content in there as well. It was going to be bundled with Max and also with Disney Plus. You could do that. However, this streaming service really kind of caught the attention of a lot of people for two different reasons. First off, sports fans were looking at this going, this sounds great, $40+ to get all the sports that we need to from those channels without having to pay for channels we don't want. A lot cheaper than Fubo or Hulu Live TV or anything like that if you're only interested in sports. However, Fubo Sports and a load of other sort of companies, along with some senators, weren't so keen on this idea. They felt that it was a sort of a major competitive issue, and so therefore Fubo took it to court, and they trying to put an injunction in place to stop it from launching this month. I know last week on Friday, a judge actually managed to block the launch of Venu Sports. Now it's only temporary. There's going to have to be an appeal, and they want more time to look into it. But this generally does cause some major issues. So originally back when they initially announced it, they did say that it needed regulatory approval before it could launch. And so this could end up being a reason why it doesn't launch, because if I don't know if it will get through, major competitive antitrust laws about the fact of three major companies coming together to launch a product which they won't sell to other platforms as well. And overall, it's a bit of a mess. Now, there are two ways you could look at this. On one hand, if you are looking to try and save some money, bringing them all together could save you money, and that could be a great thing. However, the long-term effects, that's maybe not too good. However, the counter-argument to this is, having these three companies coming together is not good for the consumer. Now, the argument I think now for that is that Netflix and Amazon and Apple and stuff are now becoming the major other networks, rather than the old idea of the old four kind of major players in the US. And I think that's where the senators are maybe focusing more on that side of things. Simply, it is one big mess, and I do now wonder whether or not this actual platform is ever going to actually launch, because all three companies were going to put in about 400 million worth of investment, so 1.2 billion. I'm going to spend sort of 15+ million advertising it. Now, they haven't spent really any money on advertising because obviously they didn't have a date yet with all this injunction and stuff. But obviously they've had to develop the app and get that already, but I don't think it's cost that much. The big problem is, since this whole thing got announced, obviously, with the upcoming election, that might change which way it goes depending on who gets in. You've also got the other big issue that Warner Brothers Discovery has lost access to the NBA, so they've lost a big chunk of content. That could be an issue. Disney also might just be looking at this going, this isn't going to get through. Now, I won't be surprised if they continue with the appeal and see how it gets on, sort of check the temperature of the room. But now we're going to have a major problem with it's going to miss this year's NFL season and college season, because we don't know how long this injunction is going to be in place for. It could be months, it could be a lot longer. So they might just get to the point of their major focus next year is launching a direct-to-consumer version of ESPN, which will also be available within Disney Plus, kind of like a souped-up version of ESPN Plus with all the linear channels and stuff, live sports. Do they need Venu Sports? It always felt to me like a little bit of a stopgap, something to kind of just get in there and grab some last-minute customers from the cable networks. Now, Fubo Sports have been having major problems with this launch. They've predicted that if this Venu Sports launched, they would lose about 30% of their customers and would probably end up going bankrupt. So it's quite a high risk for them. Their stock price went up with this. Again, I feel Fubo TV, they're in a situation where they are just clinging on to this cable system. Eventually, it is going to just fall away, and there's not going to be enough for them to keep going. I also question as well, I think there's this weird thing from my point of view of going, they want all of the content and having access to all of the content from like Disney and stuff, and they want to pay for it. And it's a bit like, well, if you want it, you go bid for it. You spend the billions of dollars to get the NBA rights. I don't know. It just feels a little bit like, they want to sell somebody else's product and then get annoyed when they find out that they don't actually need to be sold by them. They can just go straight to the customer. I don't know. I'm definitely in two minds of this. I never really understood the point of this platform. It felt like, again, a bit of a band-aid, a little bit of a crutch, just to get through this thing. Yes, it might have brought in a lot of customers, but in the long run, you would have still needed to get Peacock and Paramount Plus to get access to other games. So you weren't going to get everything anyway, so it wasn't a catch-all thing for sports. Just seems a bit messy. But yeah, I just have a feeling that this whole thing is just one day, one of them is just going to be like, yeah, we're out. And with the way that Warner Brothers Discovery is, I think they're the ones that are going to be more at risk, is the fact of, you know, that they've been put on a credit check. There's a lot of issues with Warner Brothers Discovery right now. They might not be able to join in or fund it in the same way, and the other companies might be like, yeah, we just don't need this hassle, we're just going to... I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Venu Sports is going to go ahead? Do you not? What do you think? It's a very all over the place, a very messy launch. But I think, yeah, not getting out in front of the NBA season, this is going to be a major, major blow for them. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Shifting gears now, let's now talk about the upcoming presidential debate, which is taking place on Tuesday, the 10th of September at 9 p.m. It's going to be airing on ABC, but it's also going to be live streamed on YouTube through the ABC News Live platform that they have, but also on Disney Plus and Hulu. It's also going to be available the following day on Hulu and Disney Plus on demand. This is the first time they've put this on there. This is going to be a major thing for Disney Plus, because on the 4th of September, they're going to be launching a brand new live feed in the US only for ABC News Live. So if you want to watch the presidential debate, you're going to be able to watch it on Disney Plus. I mean, question is how many people are going to be looking there for it, but making it more accessible, making it on there, I think is a good thing. And it's just that continued trend of blurring the lines between what Disney Plus was and what it's going to be, of this hodgepodge of all of the different brands from Disney coming together into one place. Again, not going to be happening internationally. There is obviously some issues with launching news coverage internationally, with like laws and stuff that they'll have to comply with. And generally as well, getting on there for the US debate, it's primarily just a US audience that are interested in this. But big news, big change, big things happening obviously within Disney Plus with the addition of ABC News Live. It makes so much sense for them to do it. But let me know, will you be checking it out? Love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Shifting gears now, let's now talk about the cancellation of a National Geographic favourite. Wicked Tuna is going to be coming to an end after 13 seasons. So this was announced on social media, where they went on to say, after 13 seasons on the high seas and more than 200 incredible episodes, the long-running series Wicked Tuna has concluded its run on National Geographic. The series celebrated one of America's oldest industries since first premiering on National Geographic in 2012, and has made internationally recognisable stars out of the intrepid commercial fishermen who braved the unrelenting North Atlantic waters to catch the elusive bluefin tuna. As we reflect on 13 great seasons and 200 plus episodes, our appreciation for our production partners at Pilgrim Media Group, our cast and our crew, the Gloucester community, and also the show's dedicated fans is hard to put into words. It's been an incredible journey together, and there are only two words that seem to fit at this moment, and that is thank you. So yeah, it's the end of a long-running show. It doesn't really come as a huge surprise, because I do question like how much longer could this series continue. These things tend to get a little bit more expensive, but also how many new stories can they tell? You know, what else can they show? Over 200 plus episodes all about fishing. That's a lot. And also maybe in the future they can return and kind of fire up a brand new series, which would generally be a little bit cheaper. But also Disney and National Geographic are drastically reducing the amount of content they are creating, and long established shows generally seem to be coming to a close as they look for cheaper and sort of shorter alternatives. They are generally just making less. So not a huge surprise, but I think it's great the fact that they at least came out there and said what they're doing, because a lot of the shows sometimes just kind of get, you know, we never see in other seasons of them. But yeah, so Wicked Tuna is over. Obviously, you can watch previous seasons of it right now on Disney Plus. Let me know, did you watch Wicked Tuna? Love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. And our question of the day, which comes from Lord Jonathan, who says, was it a mistake to remove lots of movies and shows on Disney Plus instead of adding like in a dislike system like Netflix and Hulu have? Without a doubt, I do think the removal of shows and films from Disney Plus globally is a problem. But there are some reasons for this. Obviously, the big one was when they removed a load of originals. They was about $2 billion worth. This was to try and get the platform into a state of profitability, and they just wrote it off. Now, I always felt that was a bad move on multiple levels. It really indicated a lack of faith in Disney Plus originals. A lot of great stuff did get removed. There was also a lot of stuff there that did get removed, which, let's be honest, not a lot of people watch, which is why they got rid of it. And it was more valuable to them to write it off than to actually keep it on there. But I do disagree with their decision for a lot of the shows. I mean, there's some stuff that I would be like, yeah, you could get rid of that. That, you know, no one's going to notice because no one watched it the first time. But yeah, I think that just was just a bad move, and it just really just reduced the impact of what we saw with Disney Plus. And then they sold off a load of shows as well to other platforms. And generally, we're really seeing it now with just a lack of Disney Plus originals in general. And I think that's all part of that. At some point, we're going to see Hulu merge into it, and then they're going to have lots of originals that way. And they kind of realised that making Disney Plus originals wasn't hitting the right audience. Older audiences didn't like the newer stuff because it just wasn't that good. And younger audiences just thought it was naff and just didn't bother with it either. It just wasn't hitting, and we can't say any more than that, really. But there's also some other issues of why stuff sometimes gets removed. Sometimes it's due to licensing. Say they've only paid for a movie for access for 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is. That comes to the end, it gets removed. That's just part of streaming, and it's part of how television has been for decades. It's just that now, I think this idea that Disney Plus and streaming services are like our personal collection. So when you put a movie on the shelf, it's going to stay there indefinitely. And that's just not it. I think the best way to look at Disney Plus is actually more of a mobile library that just goes around your street with the best selling stuff and the things that most people are interested in, and they don't have everything on board. And that's kind of the way I look at it with Disney Plus now. There are some other reasons why stuff gets removed. I think like here in Europe, we're seeing a lot of stuff getting removed, not necessarily due to licensing, but I think they're just trying to trim down stuff that isn't working so well, because there's a quota in place, so the more that's on there, the more stuff they need from Europe. So if you've got a couple hundred shows and movies that aren't performing very well, you're then going to need a percentage more of European stuff. So you've got to spend more money to fill in. So if you trim off all the stuff that just people aren't watching, and let's be honest, they're not removing things that people watch. Things, when they get removed, other than for licensing issues, most of the time this stuff gets removed is because nobody is watching, and that's why this is happening. But yeah, this is going to be something that's going to continue to happen, and I think we have to get used to the idea that removals will be happening on Disney Plus. It's normal on Hulu, happens all the time. I do think Disney has to get a lot better at how it handles it, especially now with the addition of the Hulu content, where it actually tells you in advance when things are leaving. Maybe have a little note on side the app, a little yellow logo just saying, this is leaving soon. I think they definitely need to sort that out. And since the addition of the Hulu stuff, I just can't believe they don't do it, because every week or every month even, stuff from Hulu gets removed from Disney Plus, and people just don't know or are ready for it. And I think they need to organise that a lot better. But again, maybe when they do a full merger, they could do this. But that could be another year away until they sort out the situation with Comcast. I don't agree necessarily with the idea that all content that goes on there should stay there indefinitely. Again, the stuff that they make, the stuff that they create, and the stuff that they own, it makes sense really to have that there. But licensed stuff, we have to look at it a little bit different. I do think the write-off stuff, they seem to have calmed down a little bit more on. But I don't like it when they cancel a show and then they whip it off. Again, not good, just publicity long term. I don't think that's a good thing. But this used to happen on regular television. It's just that no one ever noticed. If a TV show did really badly, we never saw it ever again on TV. They didn't keep reruns of it. They just removed it. And sometimes it never even got a home video release, so you would never ever see it again. It's just nowadays everyone's kind of got this idea of, like, this has never happened before. It's like it's been going on for decades. It's nothing new. It's just a different way we access it. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this and of all of today's stories. If you've got a great question, drop it in the comments as well. The best one I will be picking out for tomorrow's video. On that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Laters.